What's up, everybody? We are now live on Instagram. This is being recorded for YouTube. It'll be posted later on. Excited to go over the astrology week ahead. Let's wait for people to pile in on the Instagram live while I get the chart pulled up. Grand Rising! Hello, everybody. Let's wait for people to come in. Let's wait for the fam to pile in. How's everybody doing? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to find yourself at in the world. Excited to go over the astrology of this week. We got a lot going on this week. Good astrology, challenging astrology, but some good astrology. Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good morning. Thank you for being here. You're sick today? Oh no. Oh no. All right, we got a few things to talk about. I'm good. How are you? I'm doing a lot better than I was last week. That full moon in Aries, opposing my eighth house Mars, really took me out. Okay, but I'm excited to talk about the astrology of the week. We got some really cool things happening this week. We have Venus going into Libra um, today, where she's been transiting Virgo for the last 3 weeks, and since she's been present with the South Node, she's been in her fallen state. We've been dealing with a lot of challenges associated with partnerships and love and our self-worth, and there's just been a lot of challenging energy coming up for people, especially over the weekend. So over the weekend, we had Venus in this opposition with Saturn. She's been separating from this opposition with Saturn in Pisces, and we're happy that she's going into Aries. But one of the things I want you guys to watch out for today, tomorrow, Wednesday, as Venus is in the early degrees of Libra. I don't know why I said Aries. Oh yeah, Venus opposing Neptune in Aries. I want you guys to watch out for relationship delulu, escapism, avoidance, things like this with Venus opposite Neptune. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but yeah, for the first few days, Venus is going to be opposing Neptune. But there was a lot that came up, I think, for folks during Venus and Virgo. I think Venus and Virgo was really, exposing some of our insecurities, the ways that we are maybe OCD or perfectionistic, or the ways that we harshly judge ourselves or criticize ourselves. So as Venus exits Virgo, I really want you guys to integrate the lessons that you learned while Venus was transiting Virgo over the last 3 weeks. I think it was, that Venus and Virgo transit was especially challenging, I think, for mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, because of the Saturn opposition that we had over the last three, four, Venus and Saturn opposed each other directly this past Friday. Oh, we got a whole another wave of people coming in. Cool. Let's wait for more people to come in. People are getting my notifications really late, I think. But yeah, on the 10th, on October 10th, on Friday, Venus opposed Saturn. And, there's been a lot of things over the weekend that came up around like restriction or limitations or around rejection or around boundaries or even around like the way that we engage in pleasure, the way that we indulge, right? The way that we spend. Those are all Venus things. Our eating habits, or our diet is a Venus thing. Our eating habits are more of a Mercury thing. Our relationship with ourself, our self-worth, our self-esteem, love, partnership, friendships overall with that Venus Saturn opposition over the last 3 days, I want you guys to make sure that you take notice of what came up for you and that you integrate the lessons of Venus and Virgo over the last 3 weeks as she's been transiting Virgo, so that you don't miss out on that magic. I think Venus and Virgo was, especially, as she was transiting the South Node, Venus and Virgo and the South Node energy that we've had over the last few weeks was kind of showing us what we need to surrender, what we need to let go of associated with Venusian things. Our spending habits, our low sense of self-worth, our self-criticism, things like this. And we also, there's probably some relationships that we saw some transformation with, or that we were encouraged to release or let go of, or that we were shown, this relationship, this friendship, this connection, this partnership is no longer serving me anymore. It's a karmic, there's a karmic pattern in it that keeps me stuck. There's a karmic pattern in it that is exhausting or draining my energy, right? Like, I really want you guys to pay attention to what Venus was showing you around that space between you and the other person, or you and others, and how you relate to others over the last 3 weeks, because the Venus South Node co-presence was really trying to reveal karmic patterning, where we self-sabotage, where we overcompensate, where we allow ourselves to get taken advantage of and stuff like this. Because that's a very Venus and Virgo thing. Venus is in her fallen state in Virgo. She's pretty weak in Virgo. It's because she's in a Mercury ruled sign. So she can have a hard time asserting her value, asserting her worth, and really, express herself and things like this, and stand up for herself and fight for herself. I think that's one of the things that we see with Mercury energy. Mercury, it can be a little weak. Mercury can be a little impressionable, right? We're talking about Virgo, Gemini energy. We're talking about, folks that lack backbone, folks that are willing to compromise, or they're willing to, assimilate, or even compromise themselves in some way, compromise their integrity because they want to blend in or fit in, right? And I think this is one of the pitfalls of mutable energy in general. When we're talking about Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, when it comes to conflict, when it comes to being really strong and really, having a backbone and really being sure of yourself and your beliefs and your identity and stuff like that, we get a weakness. We get a what do you call this? Like a mutable energy. We get a flexibility that is self-compromising. We get like being overly adaptable, right? Like not being sure of yourself, not being secure in yourself, not standing on your morals and beliefs and things like this, right? So I just want you guys to take notice of that or reflect on that, as Venus exits Virgo, okay? So the other really cool thing that we have happening this week, oh, I don't know if it's cool, but it's going to be very passionate, very exciting, very sexy, is Mercury and Mars coming into conjunction in Scorpio. So we have Mercury at 10 degrees today. So today is October 13th, 2025. We have Mercury at 10 degrees Scorpio and Mars at 14. And Mercury and Mars are going to be coming into a conjunction this week, I believe, on Sunday, October 19th, but they're like really close together. So I even feel like building up to Sunday, we're already feeling this Mercury Mars conjunction. So, what is Mercury? Mercury is the planet of, welcome everybody coming in. Mercury is the planet of communication. Mercury is the planet that rules over our jobs, our routines, our habits. Mercury has a lot to do with our mind. Mercury is also connected to our neighbors, our friendships, our coworkers, our pets. Are ruled by Mercury, right? The people that you see every day in your life that you just like have conversation with in the neighborhood. So if you like say hi to the postman, if you say hi to like, you go to the checkout counter and there's Lily at the checkout counter that you always talk to, that you catch up with like small conversation, that's Mercury. Well, Mercury and Mars are coming into conjunction. They're building up into a conjunction on Sunday. And Mars is the planet of aggression, right? Mars is assertive. Mars is passionate. Mars in Scorpio is sexy. He's direct. He's like, I want this, I want that, I want you, right? But he can also be aggressive and angry, and he could be violent. So I want you guys to really, take note, especially this upcoming weekend, on the 18th. The conjunction goes exact on the 19th. So I think we're going to really feel that energetic buildup going into the 19th. But I just want you guys to be mindful of this Mercury Mars conjunction. I think the good thing about this is we're feeling very passionate and we're feeling very decisive with Mercury and Mars together. So if we've been kind of wishy-washy with decision making and choices, if we've been undecided about things, if we've been, Scorpio's not a very Scorpio is not a very direct sign. Scorpio is very indirect. Even when people have Mercury, Sun, Venus, and Scorpio there, Mars and Scorpio is not so much a indirect energy, but it can be. But Scorpio is a feminine sign, right? And Scorpio is more defensive. It's defensive. It's more reactive. Where Aries, which is the masculine side of Mars, is extremely assertive, is extremely direct, is like, I want you, and things like that. So with Mercury and Mars coming into conjunction on Sunday, though, right? we are going to be feeling more assertive and more direct. So if we've been feeling non-assertive, if we've been kind of feeling passive aggressive, or others have been passive aggressive around us, or if we've been feeling just like I was saying, undecisive about things, or we've been kind of like questioning things, I think Mercury and Scorpio over the last like week and a half, 2 weeks, has been about gathering information. Like we've been researching, we've been in detective status with Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio. We've been gathering information. We're kind of doing our investigative reporting. We're kind of like figuring out, okay, what are our deeper desires? What do I really want for myself? What's underneath the surface? How am I disconnected from my passions? How am I disconnected from my rage, my sacred rage? How am I disconnected from my anger? How am I disconnected from my sexuality? How am I disconnected from my body, right? I don't know why it's like looking foggy. Hold on, give me a second. Let me just do this really quick. I might have to close the. Oh yeah, it's the light coming in here. Hold on. There we go. Oh, there we go. The light's better. Let me just close this. There's like a glare coming in. There you go. Can you guys see me a little bit better on the Instagrams? But yeah, Mercury and Mars, right? We've been in this investigative state. We've been reconnecting to our passions, reconnecting to our desires. We've been feeling sexy. Our relationship with our libido and things like this have been coming into question. There's probably been flirtatiousness and things like this with this Mercury Mars in Scorpio. But so Mercury Mars coming into conjunction on Sunday is like us taking action around our passions, us really feeling the courage and the bravery to speak our truth and say what we gotta say. We just want to be mindful of overly aggressive speech or even destructive speech with Mercury Mars coming into conjunction. Okay. We also want to, I don't know why, but I feel like with Venus going into Libra and Mars Mercury coming to conjunction in Scorpio, I feel like we're initiating new partnerships and new connections and new relationships that are sexy, that are romantic, that are passionate. We're feeling very inspired to connect to people with Venus and Mars in their domicile this starting this week, right? With Venus also in her domicile this week. So when I say in her domicile, what I mean, or a planet's in her domicile, what I mean is a planet is in a sign that it rules. So Venus, she does well in Libra because she is the ruler of the sign of Libra, right? Mars does well in the sign of Scorpio because he is the ruler of the sign of Scorpio. So when these planets enter the sign that is their home, right, their domicile, their home, they operate at optimum functionality. They're able to go ahead and accomplish what they want to accomplish, and they're able to get done what they need to get done, right? So I think with this Venus in Libra this week, or starting this week, and Mars in Scorpio, there's a reharmonization and a rebalancing of passion and connection and relationships and things like this. And we're feeling like this push to initiate or begin new connections and new relationships. Okay. Let me take a look at something really quick. I kind of want to see, let me look at this. Hold on. I'm going to talk about Venus and Libra. All right. So Venus goes into Libra today. Um, and she's going to be in the sign of Libra until November 6th. So we get Venus and Libra for like half of, not half, I would say like a third of Scorpio season, which is nice. But Venus and Libra is going to be really good for a lot of people. Okay. So I'm going to talk about Venus and Libra really quick for your rising sign. Okay. So, and what that means for your rising sign. And I'll also maybe do this for the Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio energy. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Well, in general, Venus and Libra is going to be about peacekeeping, right? Which is so interesting is today, right now, as we speak, or in the last like 6 hours, all the hostages, the hostages that were being kept by Hamas were released back to Israel, and we're seeing a lot of really cool, progressive peacekeeping stuff happening in Gaza, right? I think it's a little theatrical. Libra is a sign of theater, okay? So Libra is connected to the theater, Libra is connected to opera. Donald Trump and Donald Trump is facilitating it, but I feel like it's strategic political theater. I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like, what is his name? I can't even pronounce his name. Netanyahu. I'm so bad. I have a weak Mercury, okay? I have Mercury retrograde. Benjamin Netanyahu, okay? We're just gonna call him Benjamin, BN. I'll call him BN. So I do think BN is just trying to paint Donald Trump is like a hero. This is all political theater, right? And Trump is like, "Oh, we're gonna make me look good." You know what I mean? And stuff like that. The reason why I don't think everything is as clear or as is like as good or righteous or the intentions aren't as pure when it comes to like the peacekeeping and negotiations in Gaza. The reason why I don't think there's like hidden motive and hidden agenda is not only because of the Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio, but also because Venus is opposing Neptune. And so Neptune is the planet of illusion and deception, right? Neptune is the planet of not everything is very clear. There's something hidden. There's something, um, you know, there's like political strategy here, right? So I don't want you guys to just look at the peacekeeping deal that's happening between Gaza and Israel and just be like, oh yeah, this is great. No, there's like hidden motives, there's like hidden agenda, and it's not all clear. There's because the Venus Neptune opposition that we have starting today, that's going to be over the next 3 days. So I want you to be mindful of the Venus Neptune opposition in your life as well, starting today, going over the next like 3 4 days, as Venus is sitting in this opposition with, she hits the opposition with Neptune today as she ingresses into Libra. But I want you to be mindful of this because that Venus Neptune opposition can be about deception or scams, right? It could be about hidden motives or hidden agenda. It could be about losses, or it could be about confusing, or it could be about confusion. It can also be about being taken advantage of, right? Being a victim of something that you're not even aware of. Neptune, the shadows of Neptune, because what happens is when planets oppose each other, they tend to bring out their more divisive, negative qualities. Oppositions are a Saturn energy, right? Oppositions are ruled by Saturn, or that aspect is said to be connected to Saturn. And so with Venus opposite Neptune, we may see more of the shadows of Neptune and Venus come out. So, like false peacekeeping, false deals, false promises, deceptive contracts, right? Like people entering a deal or people promising you something or people engaging in partnership for like hidden motives, with a hidden motive or hidden agenda, something like this. So I just want you guys to be mindful of this, okay? Because especially like today, tomorrow, Wednesday, like the beginning of this week, the 13th, 14th, 15th, because that Venus Neptune opposition, something like it's like things aren't all clear. Things are not really what we think they are, right? Possibly. It might be true. Like this is where, when Neptune's involved, we have to talk about increased discernment. We have to talk about, trusting your intuition and, you know, peering behind the veil or peering underneath the motives, right? And like asking the questions and really piecing through what is being shown or presented to us because there could be something underneath the surface that we're missing or we're overlooking. So I really want you guys to be mindful of this with Venus opposite Neptune, okay? All right, so if you are an air sign rising, if you're a Libra, Aquarius, or a Gemini rising, Venus is entering houses 1, 5, and 9 for you. These are the best houses in the chart. These are the most positive houses of the chart. Houses 1 and 5 have a lot to do with relationship and partnership and love and romance. So if you are a Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra rising, you are probably going to be, thinking about partnership, feeling very creative, feeling very sexy, feeling very socially engaged, with Venus going through houses 1, 5, and 9. This could also be about traveling or vacationing or learning something new or just some kind of improvement within yourself, within your life. If you are an air sign rising and you've been feeling like, tension or issues with your love life or your relationship life, or even, there's been weird stuff happening romantically for you, you're probably going to get a lot of clarity with Venus in Libra over the next 3 weeks. All right. Because Venus has been in houses 4, 8, and 12 for you as she was transiting Virgo. And she was also with the South Node, right? So over the last 3 weeks with Venus in Virgo, air sign risings, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius rising, there's probably been a lot of issues with partnerships or a lot of confusion or even some losses or spirit is showing you something needs to be surrendered, something needs to be let go of when it comes to partnerships. And now that Venus is in Libra, you're going to be feeling a little bit more decisive around who you are. You're going to be feeling more confident. You're going to be feeling more, you know, a magnetic is a good word for Venus. Venus does rule over magnets, and she also rules over math. I don't know if you guys knew that, but she does. Libra rules over math and Venus. And so so I really think like, with Venus going into Libra air sign risings, you're kind of like getting some pep in your step. You're also feeling more creative, more expressive, more maybe, faithful or optimistic or positive in general. Venus going through houses 1, 5, 9 is really good. You may also see improvements with health if, Venus is going through your rising sign and your Libra rising. You may want to change your body. You may want to change your look. You may want to like, go out and buy some fashion or buy some new clothes or, adopt a new fashion or get your hair done, get your nails did. Libra rising things, right? Venus going into the rising for Libra rising. And the opposing the seventh, that's where we get the relationship partnership thing, right? For Libra rising where Gemini rising, Venus is going into your fifth house. So this is like your children. This is like your creativity, your self-expression. This is really good for entrepreneurial ventures, for making your own money, things like this. If your kids have been going through things or if you've been feeling, lonely and stuff like that, Gemini rising, Venus going into the fifth house is going to be good for love and romance. You should definitely be putting yourself out there over the next 3 weeks. And you may see some evolution when it comes to relationships or friendships even as well because Venus does oppose the seventh. So, this is a good time for like money making, self-promotion, getting involved in different business ventures and stuff like that as well, Gemini rising. And then Aquarius rising, Venus going into what house is that? Your ninth house. That's about travel. That's about, higher consciousness. That's about being more optimistic or being more positive and stuff like that. So I really love that for you guys. I really like Venus and Libra for the rising signs. I think Venus and Virgo was a little rough for air sign risings. If you are a water sign rising, Venus in Libra, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer rising, Venus in Libra's entering houses 4, 8, and 12. Okay, so so Venus is about to show you guys some things around your relationships and your partnerships. This can be about financial hardships or financial difficulties. My water sign risings, you can have some unexpected expenses come up. You can, there can be some karmic things that you have to confront when it comes to partnerships and connections and relationships. One of the good things though is you are going to be feeling a little bit more, you're going to be feeling a little bit more, inquisitive. You're going to be feeling a little bit more transformational. You're going to be feeling a little bit more with Venus going through houses 4, 8, and 12, a little bit more private, more to yourself, maybe a little bit with Venus. There could be some things that are revealed to you about your relationships and partnerships, though, and there could also be some things communication wise that you got to express with Venus going through houses 4, 8, and 12. My water sign risings, okay? But it is Venus in her rulership, right? So this could also be about you need to pull out a loan, or you're going to start to get unearned income, or you're waiting for unemployment, or you're waiting for financial aid, or you're waiting for someone to pay you back. So it doesn't have to be bad, but there can be some gain. There could be some unearned income that comes in, but all in all, this is better for spirituality, for occult practice, for occult learning, for kind of detaching from the material world. I think when Venus goes through houses 4, 8, and 12, we're encouraged to release or surrender, or detach from the material world in some type of way. And sometimes that's about like, oh, I gotta settle this debt and pay this off, and it's like a karmic thing. So just keep that in mind, okay? My water sign risings. Cancer rising is gonna get the best of Venus and Libra. The Cancer rising could be purchasing a new house or moving or relocating with Venus and Libra over the next 3 weeks because it is their fourth house. So, you might want to buy a car or you might want to redo your house or get a new couch or you want to get what is that? A vanity. Cancer risings are getting vanities for with Venus going through their fourth. They're gonna buy themselves a nice, beautiful vanity where they can go ahead and look at themselves and do their makeup and everything. Cancer rising tends to they love like having nice, comfortable, beautiful living environments. And this is because they have Venus going through their fourth, right? Oh, they started a new job. That's cool. Yeah, the water signs have been getting blessed a lot because of the Jupiter Saturn trine. We're gonna have this beautiful grand trine with Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn going into the end of October, going to early November. So the water signs are really gonna be benefiting from the Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Mars grand trine that we're gonna have. There's like Saturn and Jupiter coming to this beautiful trine, and so it's gonna be really good for water signs, especially. But yeah, Venus going through, houses 4, 8, and 12 for water sign risings. If you're a Pisces rising, this is your eighth house. Venus going through your eighth, and us Pisces risings, I'm a Pisces rising. We know that eighth house in Libra brings a lot of karma when it comes to our relationships and partnerships in of itself. And, we can struggle, Pisces rising can really struggle with asserting ourselves in relationships because of that Libra, that energy of Libra in the eighth. Well, I think Pisces rising is going to be encouraged to really assert themselves or stand up for themselves or to really get to the bottom of what's going on with their eighth house. There may be some trauma, there may be some triggers, there may be, like I was saying, some debts or some financial expenses that need to be figured out. There could also be things about boundaries with others that, needs to be figured out with Venus going through the eighth house for Pisces rising. And then Scorpio rising, oh Lord Jesus, Venus going through your 12th. Okay, so it's like Pisces and Scorpio rising, you guys just need to take the losses. Like you just need to purge and surrender and let go of what's no longer serving you. You just need to kind of like dig in there and you need to be very honest with what's going on in the realm of friendships, partnerships, relationships. There may be certain people that need to detach from or stuff like that, or just something that needs to change, period, in your, connect in your social life. Maybe it's just the way that you engage with others. Maybe it's, overextending yourself, or maybe it's, being overly supportive, or maybe it's also being overly isolated, not letting people in, right? And you need deeper friends. Venus going through houses 8 and 12 for Scorpio and Pisces rising. It's like maybe you need friends that are deep, that are psychological, that are intuitive, that can help you work through shit. And not friends that are like very shallow. Water sign risings, by the way, tend to be the most antisocial. Does anybody know why the water sign risings tend to be loners and tend to be the most antisocial? Can anybody take a gander that's here on the live on Instagram? Can anybody take a gander on why water sign risings tend to be the most antisocial? Or why they're not antisocial, but they're just asocial? They're not really the most open people. They're not out there typically, unless their chart is a little modified, right? They're not the most social people. Anybody take a gander? Anybody know why? Someone said Saturn ruling the 11th. That's part of it. Earth and air houses, almost close. It's because they have air signs ruling houses 4, 8, and 12. So all of the social signs are in the hidden private houses for water sign risings. If you're looking at your chart in whole sign, right? So water sign risings in houses 4, 8, and 12 are the air signs, which are the social signs, right? Which is why water sign risings are not that social. It's because they have the social signs in the hidden, private, exclusive karmic houses. That's why water sign risings have a lot of karma when it comes to relationships. It's because they have the relationship signs, the air signs in houses 4, 8, and 12. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, okay. So that's for water sign risings. All right. Fire sign risings, Venus and Libra over the next 3 weeks, starting today on October 13th, okay, going up until November 6th. Venus and Libra, fire sign risings. This is your time to go out and meet people and have fun and socialize and party. This is houses 3, 7, and 11 for you. If you are a fire sign rising, you're looking at your chart and whole sign. You have an air sign house ruling houses 3, 7, and 11. These are the social houses. These are the community houses. These are the friendship houses. These are the connection houses. These are the social networking houses. These are the houses of your social media. These are the houses of publication. Well, I wouldn't say publication. That's more of a ninth house thing, but I associate it with the third as well. Advertising, marketing, publication. So if you are a fire sign risings are out there meeting people over the next 3 weeks of Venus and Libra. They're trying to get it on. Okay. Fire sign risings are trying to find their sugar boo. They're trying to go out on a date. They're out in the town, okay, busy. They got stuff to do. Get out of their way, okay? They're feeling really inspired, really communicative. They're also what I like about Venus and Libra for the fire signs is I feel like y'all are there's this energy of kind of like slowing down and really seeing the quality relationships in your life and really taking note of the relationships in your life that are quality, not quantity. Okay. We're doing quality over quantity when it comes to Venus and Libra. If you're an Aries, Leo, or a Sag rising, if you've been having challenges in your social life, with Venus going through Virgo and that Venus Saturn opposition we have over the last 3 weeks, I think Venus in Libra is going to bring healing, balance, you know, harmony, um, fairness, justice, equality, back to your relationship life, or Venus is going to bring some ease to your relationship life. So one of the things about when we're talking about Venus and Jupiter and how they when they transit like a house, what Venus and Jupiter do generally it may not be something very significant. It may not be like a big blessing or like a lucky opportunity with like Jupiter or Venus, right? They are the benefics. They do bring blessings and luck and good things. But sometimes all it is with the Venus or Jupiter transit is that area of our life gets easier. And it just becomes like a non-issue, right? A lot of times we are expecting like something physical or something tangible or something like to strongly manifest with like a Venus transit. Um, but sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just that area of your life is peaceful and easy and non-problematic while Venus is transiting that house. So I feel like fire sign risings with Venus and Libra over the next 3 weeks until November, what did I say, November 6th. You guys are meeting new friends. You're hanging out with friends. You're meeting new lovers. Fire signs are committing. Can you believe it? A fire sign rising, a Leo, Sag, or an Aries rising. They're committing? They are committing. Can you believe it? Yes. Venus and Libra is encouraging them to go deeper into their commitments and to really, value and appreciate the people that deserve it. And I think that's one of the things where fire signs can really shoot themselves in the foot a little bit is because they can be a little restless, a little impatient, or a little irresponsible in the way that they deal with relationships. Well, Venus and Libra is going to encourage you, fire sign risings, to really show and tell the people that you really value, appreciate, or that you like want long-term sustainable connection with, really tell them that you're worth it and to really tell them like what you want from the connection. I think it's good though. I really do think Venus and Libra is going to bring a lot of like new connections and new partnerships and good stuff. Okay. So if you're an Aries rising, Venus is going to be transiting your seventh house of partnership and relationship and marriage and business partnership, right? So, if you're an Aries rising, Venus and Libra could be about new business opportunities, new money making opportunities, an up. You're doing really well at your job. If you're in sales, a lot of Aries risings are in sales because they have Libra ruling their seventh. And they have a connection between the second and the seventh with Venus ruling their second and their seventh. So a lot of Aries risings, they are in like some kind of sales or they do business contracts, they do negotiations with others, right? And stuff like that. Or they're like salespeople. Aries risings are like salespeople because of that Libra. So Venus in the seventh house can be an uptick in clients for you, Aries. It could be a new business partnership. It could be engagement or marriage, or it could be you meeting someone that's quality partner. Okay. It could also be about you going to court though. So, the seventh house and the third house bring us to court. They bring legal issues or legal problems sometimes, or they have us, we got to go after somebody in some type of way, right? We got it's like a part. Think about it. Libra is the aggressive masculine side of Venus. Libra is the lawyer side of Venus. She's the social justice side of Venus, right? So with Venus and Libra for fire sign risings, but this may be for everybody, there may be something around justice and taking someone to court and holding someone accountable and like asserting yourself or fighting for yourself in some type of way and being like, I'm gonna sue you after you did that, right? So that could be a thing for Aries rising specifically, okay? For Gemini rising, Venus going to your fifth house of love and romance and children, or I'm sorry, we're doing fire sign risings, my bad. Leo rising, Venus is going through your third house. Okay, Leo rising. So this is about education, schooling, learning, short distance travel, long distance travel. Leo rising, this can be about, you're walking in the neighborhood and turns out your soulmate is your neighbor. You know what I mean? Because the third house rules neighbors and our local environment, right? Leo rising, if you want to find love, okay, with Venus and Libra, just go outside. Go for walks in the park. Go to your supermarket, your local supermarket. Make sure you're going to like family parties or social parties and things like any kind of like events and stuff. Because Venus in the third could bring a new connection or a new relationship in for you or something like this. That's one of the things I'm kind of getting. But all in all, Venus going through the third is also going to be about enhancement or ease and grace when it comes to like communication. One of the things I really hate about Venus and Libra in the third house for Leo rising is that Donald Trump is a Leo rising, and that's where he has his Jupiter in Libra. He has Jupiter Chiron, I think, in Libra in the third. And this Venus transit is going to be really good for him. That's the only Leo rising that I don't like this Venus transit for. It's going to be really good for him. We're already seeing it. I mean, he's got this whole peacekeeping thing that he's facilitating over in Palestine, right? So we're already seeing how the Venus and Libra is going to be doing him some good, unfortunately. But Leo risings, yeah, Venus and Libra is going to be really good for you guys when it comes to communication, learning, schooling. This could be you might want to learn something new. Leo rising, you have Libra in the third. Like, why don't you guys take acting classes? Why don't you take voice classes? Like, why don't you invest in your skills and your talents and, your gifts, the things that you're naturally good at? Music, singing, dancing. Come on, Leo rising. You guys got Sag in the fifth. Y'all are great dancers. Like, Venus going through your third house. It's time to learn and like perfect or even hone your skills, your gifts, or like learn something new with Venus going through the third. Okay, for Leo rising, but it's going to be good for your local engagements. Okay, you might be feeling very outside with Venus going through your third house. You might be feeling very active. Also, Leo rising, if you are someone that's really present on social media, or you want to do like a new marketing or advertising campaign because you're like self-employed or whatever. Venus going through the third would be really good for that. So if you are thinking about like investing in advertising, marketing, you want to get a new website going, you want to launch a social media thing, you should do that. Okay. All right. And then the last one is Sag rising. So Sag rising, Venus is going through your 11th house of friends. This is why Saggies are so social. And everyone like loves Sagittariuses. Like they are very social. People love them. They have like a lot of community. Also, Sag rising is one of those rising signs that is always getting free shit from their friends. They get like free tickets and they get like gifts and their friends just really be putting them on. Like, I don't think Sag rising really takes advantage of the Venus ruling their 11th house. Y'all really don't be taking advantage of your social network. I think Sag rising is one of those rising signs they tend to just take things for granted and they're not really intentional around certain things in their life, like the Venus rulership of 11th that are like really easy and really graceful. Well, with Venus going to the 11th, this can be about expansion of social circles or even like you getting lucky or blessed in some type of way with like gifts and stuff like that or with opportunities, right? And, if you are a business owner, if you're a Sag rising that's a business owner, you may see something really good show up when it comes to your business. You may also have some new ideas, some fresh new ideas around how to like make money, or even there could be some people that come in for you with Venus and Libra going through your 11th. that are going to involve you in new communities, new business ventures, new investment opportunities, and stuff like that. This can also be about love and romance for you because the 11th house does oppose the fifth. And this could also be about, things if you've been dealing with issues with your children, with your kids, Sag rising and their children. I hate to say it. Sag moon too. Sag moon, Sag rising people. Oh my God. Especially the women. When women have that, oh my God, their relationship with their kids tends to be like, what is going on with your relationship with your kids? Work on it. Okay. Work on your relationship with your kids. Sag rising with Venus going through Libra. Okay. Because they tend to have they can have a really rough relationship with their kids only because Mars rules their fifth house, right? Their fifth house is in Aries if we're looking at the chart and whole sign. So yeah, expansion of social circles, good luck opportunities when it comes to new business ventures, participating in new communities, just kind of being lucky, just kind of like being, 11th house is one of the best houses in the chart. And Sag Rising, you guys really need to put yourself out there because I feel like a lot of your opportunities come from you being social and when you like put yourself out there and you meet strangers. 11th house is also the house of strangers. So with Venus going through your 11th, you might meet some strangers that you turn into friends or that pull you into community and where this beautiful opportunity shows up for you or something like this. One of the things that's really cool for Sag Rising, it's good, but it also is kind of challenging. Is Venus rules their sixth house and their 11th. So, so Sag Rising, they have a connection between the 11th house of friends and the sixth house of health and work and like jobs. So this is why like a lot of Sag Risings, they get jobs or they get jobs through their friends or they like work with their friends. It's because Venus rules the sixth and the 11th and there's a connection between those things. You'll see a lot of Sag Risings when they start a company or they start a business. They'll like bring their friends into it and stuff like that, or they'll even like work alongside their friends, or a friend will like get them into a job and like whatever. It's because of the connection between the 11th and the 6th. Cool, right? All right. Interesting. Awesome. Wonderful. Going to an angel retreat on Thursday with Danny Michaels. Oh, you're gonna love it. Oh, you're gonna make so many friends. She's a Sag rising. DHC girl's a Sag rising, and yeah, the fifth house and the 11th house all about also have a lot to do with like fun and celebration and stuff like that. Also, if you've never booked a reading with me, baby, I don't know what you're waiting for. Like, I'm gonna do another reading deal in November. I'm pretty booked up over the next 2 weeks, but I did a discount special for readings this past weekend, and like I had 9 slots, but I ended up having like over, I don't know, there was a lot of people, and I ended up like getting my next 2 weeks booked up pretty much. So in November, if you're someone that wasn't able to take advantage of the reading discount offer that I did over the weekend, don't worry about it because I'm gonna do it again. All right, in the beginning of November, probably the first couple weeks of November. So just look out for that around the beginning of November. Okay. So if I missed you this time around, if you weren't able to get in, don't worry about it. I'm gonna do like another discount reading opportunity for folks in November. Okay. I know that times are really tough for people right now, and the economy is just shit. It's just terrible right now. So one of my goals is always to make myself as accessible as possible to people. I did not get into this work for money. I didn't even choose this work, okay? God chose me for this, all right? I did not want to become an astrologer. I did not want to be a tarot reader. I'm so grateful that I landed into this and that I was chosen for this, but I did not, there was no point in my life where I was like, I'm gonna go to school or I'm gonna study to be an astrologer or I'm gonna go ahead and, study tarot to do tarot reading. No, that was never me. I was chosen for this work. Okay. Spirit was like, this is what you're going to do. And I was like, yes. Okay. So this is not about money for me. This has never been about money. Those of you guys that know me going all the way back when I started in 2020, you know that I used to do readings for free. I used to do donation-based readings. And I used to do the way I got good at this was actually by doing readings where I was just charging only like, there was a point I think in like 2021, 2022, was only charging like $60 for like an hour reading. And because it wasn't about the money, but obviously I got to be able to sustain myself and take care of myself, right? But also, it's never been about the money for me. It's always been about the work. It's always been about the craft, and it's always been about servicing people and being of service to people. My that no matter like that's what it's about for me, okay? Like even when I was in banking, it wasn't even about the banking. It was just connecting to people, having a positive influence on people's life, being able to guide people, being able to bring hope and being able to bring, clarity and being able to bring healing and being able to, bring confirmation and even like direction to people. It's what my work has always been about. And, I'm very convicted in that. So, that was something I was, really reflecting on over the last 2 weeks. I was in this place where I was kind of like, I got to make myself more accessible. And times are tough right now. I want to make sure that, if people really want a reading with me, it's not because they can't afford it, that they're not able to have one. So I will be doing another discount sale opportunity in November. Okay, so just look out for that in my story. You guys gotta follow my stories though. I most of my content, I don't know, I change. Sometimes I'll post a lot of content on my page, like actual reels or posts. Sometimes I'm really present in my stories. I'm mostly present in my stories. Sometimes I'll be like, I feel inspired and I'll go to threads and I'll post some threads for like a month or two. But I'm always on my stories. So make sure that you have your notifications on my stories because that's where I'm going to release or that's where I'm going to notify people of like the discount special. Okay. But yeah, so all right. Last but not least, Earth sign risings for Venus and Libra over the next 3 weeks. We're gonna do a little horoscope for you guys, okay? Um, so Venus and Libra, if you are a Capricorn, Taurus, or a Virgo rising, Venus is going to houses 2, 6, and 10. My hair's looking good today, by the way. Sorry. Had a little moment of conceit with Venus and Libra. um, these are the houses of what? Work, money, career, health, habit, your diet, right? So you might start craving more sugar. My Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus risings, you might feel compelled to spend more money, okay? You also might feel a little bit more balanced when it comes to your daily habits, your daily routines. You can also get a new job because we know Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo rising, they are about their what? They are about their money, right? The earth signs, these are about the earth element, right? The earth signs, they are about the relationship with the material world. So money, food, the body, right? Their relationship with the material world is very, very important. Earth sign risings are here to experience and heal the relationship with the material world. Unfortunately, a lot of them are really bad with money. The irony of it all. You guys are bad with money. You guys are diabetic, okay? You overspend when it comes to others, especially. You guys get into weird financial entanglements with others. That's an earth sign rising thing. Does anybody know why? That's because they have air signs ruling houses 2, 6, and 10. So because you guys have air element energy ruling houses 2, 6, and 10, okay, this is why you guys tend to be a little flighty or a little shifty or a little inconsistent when it comes to your relationship with money. Yeah, Virgo rising is I think has the best. I think Virgo rising is capable of having the best relationship with money because they do have a Venus ruled second. They have Libra in the second. But Taurus rising and Aquarius rising or Taurus rising and Capricorn rising, they figure it out over time. They get better with money over time. Okay. Yeah, sweet tooth energy. Well, Libra rules sweets and sugars. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Venus rules pastries and candy and stuff like that. So a lot of people that have a strong Venus and Taurus, Venus and Libra, even the moon, I see this a lot with the moon in Taurus, moon in Libra, they have a sweet tooth. They love to bake, they love confections, they love pastries, they love candy. That's like a Libra rising, Taurus rising, Libra, Taurus moon, or even when Venus is in Taurus or Libra. They'll have a lot of they're like the diabetics. The earth sign, well, like Venus can make you a diabetic, right? Venus rules the kidneys, and unfortunately, sugar is really bad for the kidneys. It's also bad for the pancreas. Sugar is just bad for the body. It's bad for the blood. Sugar makes the blood toxic. Okay. Anyways, I don't want to sit here and talk about, sugar forever, but with Venus going through houses 2, 6, and 10, this can be about, you know, um, new money making opportunities, new jobs, a promotion at your job, or even if you've been experiencing issues or problems with like work and career, if you're an Earth sign rising, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Venus and Libra can bring some kind of like ease or some kind of grace, or it can bring some kind of like healing, or even can bring like something fresh and something new. You might feel very encouraged or inspired or motivated to start something new or to go in a new direction with like work and career and stuff like this, with Venus going through the sign of Libra. I really like this for you guys, my Earth sign risings. I like Venus going through houses 2, 6, and 10. It's going to help with you kind of being in right relationship or even just improving your condition when it comes to like money and finances in the material world, okay? If you are a Taurus rising, this is definitely going to show up. This is your sixth house if you're Taurus rising. Venus is going to your sixth house in Libra whole sign. So this is like, better routines. You might be feeling a little more lazy. Taurus rising is a really lazy sign. Tauruses are lazy in general. They're a little bit of a lazy sign is because they have a Venus ruled sixth house. They're not trying to do a lot every day, okay? Taurus is trying to show up at work and like look good and look pretty and just be like, they're like Taurus rising is front desk energy. Is front desk at like a bougie hotel. Like they're not trying to work that. They're just trying to look pretty. They're just trying to greet you and be like, "Here you go. Here's your keys." Like, your room is on the left. That's all they're trying to do. They're not really trying to work that hard, okay? Libra in the sixth house for Taurus rising, right? For Taurus, if you put Taurus on the ascendant. Well, you might get that desk job for you, Taurus rising. You might have that beautiful new thing come in, or there could be something also with like, your routines. You can feel more balanced or more organized with your routines or habits. Or if you have a health condition and you're a Taurus rising, your health condition can improve in some type of way with Venus going through the sixth house. If you've been dealing with any kind of like conflict or agitation at work or with jobs and stuff like that, or at the job place or with coworkers, the Venus in the sixth can bring justice, can bring peace, can bring, fairness, or could bring some kind of good change or positive shift with Venus going through the sixth. Okay. And yeah, all right. So for Capricorn rising, Venus is going through your 10th house in Libra. So Capricorn rising, promotions, positive outcomes when it comes to business or career ambitions, or you can get recognized for your work or something could, really good could happen. A really positive shift with like your career direction, your work direction. You can get favored, you can get noticed, you can get a award or something like this. Capricorn rising with Venus going through the 10th. This is an angular house though, so there could be big changes or big shifts with work and career. And even with the home life, possibly that Capricorn is going to be experiencing with Venus going through the sign of Libra over the next 3 weeks, because Venus going, through the 10th does oppose the fourth house, right? The 10th house is an angular house. It's a very strong house. Big things tend to happen or big shifts can happen when Venus goes through the 10th. If you're a Capricorn rising, especially with like work, career, your public image, you also things with the father, the mother could come up. Positive shifts or good things though. So this can be, Capricorn rising finally, sees their mom or their dad, after a long period of time, or they even, come into a better space or better, healing space, or they find some kind of, positive shift with their relationships with family and with like their bosses and career and stuff like that. So with Venus going through the 10th, okay? And then Virgo rising, Venus going through your second, okay? This is going to be really good for your self-worth, for your self-esteem. This is really good, going to be really good for your money. Just watch out for overspending or overindulging with Venus going through your second, Virgo rising. Venus in the second could have you feeling really good. So you're like, oh, I just want to spend money and I just want to party and I just want to, kind of have fun, or I just want to indulge, because Venus is a planet that is about indulgence, so is Jupiter. And so with Venus going through that second, I think it's going to be really good for your self-worth and self-esteem, but it could also be good for like money-making opportunities and things like this. But you just want to be mindful. You want to be mindful of, that kind of temptation energy. It does oppose the eighth though. So I don't know. There's something around like, being a little bit more balanced, or even being a little bit more responsible. With Venus going through her second house around money and finances, Virgo rising. Okay. So yeah, that was fun, right? That took about what, 20 minutes? It did a little, Venus and Libra horoscope for people, for the signs. I want to include that, or I'll start doing that with certain transits, that I think are important, or certain planetary ingresses when a planet goes into a new sign. I'll start doing that for the signs, okay? Every now and then. Not always though, because it does take a lot of energy and it does take a lot of time. I got to do a lot of mental math and stuff when it comes to that. So, all right, let's get back to the astrology the week ahead. Okay, we just did some Venus and Libra horoscopes for all the rising signs and for the elements. All right, so what did we talk about so far? We talked about Venus going to Libra. I gave you guys some horoscopes about that. We talked about Mercury, Mars together. What's the other thing that's happening today? Well, Pluto goes direct. We've had Pluto retrograde for the last 6 months, and Pluto goes direct today. I think he's direct right now, actually. Let me take a look at the astrology. Let me see. I think Pluto just went direct. How many hours ago? Oh, yeah, like in the last 6 hours. So Pluto goes direct today. So with Pluto direct, we're going to see Pluto's at 1 degree of Aquarius. This is a critical degree, 0, 1 degrees, 29 degrees. These are anaretic critical degrees. So we're going to start to see more societal transformation and change with Pluto and Aquarius going direct. We're going to see more technology, more AI, more robots within ourselves, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. Aquarius is a very intellectual sign. We're transforming and we're changing. I really want you guys to reflect around, especially if you're a fixed sign if like me, if you have early degree fixed placements, anything within 0 to 5 degrees of Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, or Leo, Pluto has been squaring you, opposing you, or conjunct you, right? This early degree Pluto and Aquarius. But with Pluto going direct and moving forward, like these like periods where Pluto moves forward for 6 months, because Pluto stays direct for an average of 6 months a year, and he goes retrograde for 6 months a year, and then he goes direct for 6 months a year. So Pluto is a planet that retrogrades pretty often, and he stays retrograde very, very like for a long period of time. But what I want you guys to reflect on over the last 6 months is, where in your life did Pluto show you that you need to like evolve? And that you're on the precipice of a breakthrough and becoming your future self, or like emerging into this future life, or even like, there's traumas from the past and stuff like that, right? That you got to leave behind or let go of so that you can like fully evolve and into this like new sense of self, right? And so I really want you guys to reflect on with Pluto retrograde over the last 6 months, like what did Pluto show you about, you know, what you need to release or purge or let go of the past so that you can really embrace this future self. Where do you need to invest in your future self, right? Where do you need to invest in your Aquarian ID, your Aquarian uh identity is what I meant to say, not ID. Your Aquarian identity, like this person that the universe, that spirit, that God, that divine, that your family, that society is gonna need you to be over the next 20 years with Pluto going through Aquarius for the next 20 years. Like there has been really deep, powerful, tremendous identity shifts that people have been going through and will continue to be going through, and especially ego deaths. Like where you feel like a piece of you or part of you is like dying and it needs to, because you can't take it with you into the future, right? The reason why ego deaths or identity deaths have been like a thing where we're moving away from like narcissistic culture, self-absorbed culture, individualistic culture. We're moving more towards like social justice culture, community culture, moving away from how we're apart from others, but and towards like how we are connected and just alike. The reason why this is happening is because Pluto in Aquarius opposes Leo, the sign of ego, the sign of identity, the sign of celebrities, the sign of consolidated leadership, presidents, kings, queens. That is all dying. The age of narcissism is dying. The age of presidents and CEOs is dying. The age of kings and queens is dying. Pluto's in Aquarius. Uranus is in Gemini. We're moving away from being egocentric and being selfish and being self-absorbed and thinking it's all about you. Pluto's in Aquarius, the sign of what? community, friendship, our social groups, democracy, the future, equality, right? Fairness, like this, right? This is the direction that we're moving in. Pluto's showing us this. Uranus is in Gemini, Pluto's in Aquarius. These are the social signs, right? So we have to allow Leo energy within ourselves, the identity, the egos, the selfishness, the narcissism, the self-absorption. We got to allow that shit to die. It's got to go. Our old self, our old ego, our old ways of being, our old ways of perceiving ourselves, and even our old way of relating to ego, right? This is why the United States is in the cesspool of crap that it's in today, is because we live in a society, especially if you're here in the States, that is too self-absorbed. Everyone is so focused on being different and being an individual that they have forgotten about community and connection and the value of friendship and the value of partnership and the value of neighbors and the value of, connection. We're disconnected from that. We forgot. We done forgot, right? It's not our fault, but you know, the Pluto and Leo generation, right? They're moving away, right? Pluto's in Aquarius now, opposing the Pluto and Leo generation. A lot of them are going to be dying, okay? And the biggest Pluto and Leo person, the archetype of the Pluto and Leo generation is you know who, Donald Trump. He is the ultimate, he is the pimple of narcissism, right? Like he is the ultimate self-expression of what it means to be American. The shadows, the karma, the evilness, the ugly that is everything American is been consolidated into one person that we know as Donald Trump, who is a Leo rising, okay, with Mars and Leo right on his ascendant. And I do believe he has Pluto and Leo too. Let me see if he's the Pluto and Cancer. And he's the Pluto and Leo generation. Yeah, he's the Pluto, right? They're on their way out. They're on their way out. So with Pluto direct, I really want you guys to think about what kind of selfish, narcissistic habits, what kind of self-absorbed lifestyle, what kind of idea of like, oh, well, it's not hitting me, so it doesn't matter, right? Oh, they're targeting immigrants and they're targeting women and they're targeting LGBT people, and I'm none of those. So it's not, yes, it is hitting you. It is going to impact you one day, okay? Right? Just because you may not identify with these other people in your community, let me tell you, there's going to come a point where you are going to be impacted by what's happening to these other communities that you think are a part of you. All right? It's going to happen politically. All right? You are going to get impacted by all the terrible things that are happening to, minority communities. It is going to hit you. All right? So we got to get over this like collective selfishness and narcissism with Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini. We need to be more community based. We need to invest in our friendships and our partnerships. We need to invest in our neighbors. We really need to be putting ourselves out there more. And we need to allow this selfish, narcissistic way of living and being and existing, right? We need to allow that to like die. Right? We need to become more open. We need to be more community based. And so with Pluto direct, I really want you guys to think what part of your ego, what part of your identity, what part of your false self, what part of your selfish self, what part of your narcissistic self, we all have a little bit of it, I'm sure, okay, needs to go. Needs to go. What do we need to purge? Okay. And what did Pluto show us over the last 6 months that needs to go? Because now with Pluto direct, we're integrating, right? We're integrating, we're moving forward. We're taking what we've learned, we're taking what's been shown to us over the last 6 months of Pluto retrograde. Pluto, retrogrades bring us inward. So retrogrades, whenever you guys think of retrogrades, I want you to think about going inward and backwards. Okay. We're not moving outward, we're direct, forward moving energy, like planets that are direct or forward moving, they are forward and outward. Okay. Retrograde is inward and backward, right? So we've been reflecting, we've been releasing things from the past, or having to look back in some type of way with Pluto retrograde over the last 6 months. Now we're shifting, and we're going to be taking what we've learned, taking what we've realized, taking what we've looked at back there, and we're like, okay, Let me integrate it. Let me do something with it. And now it's time for me to move forward, right? Now it's time for me to push it outward and move forward, the lessons, okay? I just want you guys to think about that. But yeah, and this is around like also it's Aquarius, right? So how you build community, how you communicate, how you connect with others. Like these are all things. Ooh, my right ear is ringing. Interesting. These are all things that are gonna be very important. Very, very important. Okay. I want you guys to think about that with Pluto direct. But if you are an early sign, if you're an early degree fixed, if you have anything at early degree fixed sign, take notice of how Pluto has been transforming you. Because I have an early degree Sun and Mercury in Scorpio, and this Pluto square, I've been definitely feeling it. So, all right, let me see if there's anything else before we jump into like the day by day. If there's anything else that I wanted to talk about, not really. I don't think there's anything else happening this week that is like that I need to like talk about. Pluto direct, Venus in Libra, Mercury, Mars in a conjunction. Those are like the big highlights. Okay. All right, let's talk about the week though. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about the planets through the week. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here on. I got a little political there. Let's get a little political there. I was trying not to get excessively political, but sometimes you can't help it. I did major in politics. Well, not politics. I did major in like a social justice type of major when I was in college. Very liberal. I was taking classes on like socialism and communism and stuff when I was in college. I have Saturn, Uranus, and Sagittarius in the 10th, okay? And I have Jupiter and Aries. Like, I was there for the French Revolution, all right? I was there for the fall of Rome, okay? And I was dancing and I was enjoying it and I was having a good time, okay? While everything was burning, I was having fun. I feel like we like that. Fire signs, like when we have a lot of fire in our chart, fire people, we thrive in chaos. We like destruction. We like when things are burning. Like, oh, the city's burning. Oh, well, that's good. I like that. We're going in a new direction. Creating space for new things. But anyways, someone said it shows. That's really funny. All right, let's talk about the astrology of the week, okay? So today we have the moon in Cancer. Oh, the moon's with Jupiter right now. The moon feels good. I feel good. Yeah, I feel good. The moon is with Jupiter in Cancer today. So today, there can be a lot of emotion that we're feeling today, though. The moon's been in Cancer since like um I think that we went into Cancer Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night on the 11th. Yesterday, the moon was in Cancer all day. So, the moon in Cancer wrapping up today, going to tomorrow. It's about family, it's about creativity, it's about staying at home, it's about tending to your emotional needs, home cooked meals, conversations with your mom, hanging out with, your kids, you know what I mean? Moon Jupiter today, though, in Cancer, this can also be a transit of pregnancy and procreation, and like baby making and stuff. We have Moon separating from Mars and Scorpio and hitting a conjunction with Jupiter. So, if anybody wants to go, if anybody, especially Earth sign, water sign, if you're trying for a baby, and you're like trying to make a baby, you should do that right after this live. Okay. Go do that. All right. Go do some baby making activities after the live. Okay. Not during. Okay. After. All right. Mercury, Mars. Look at here goes Mars, Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. I can't help it. I'm sorry. I have Lilith is right on my Venus right now. So, okay. But if you want to make a baby, all right. Today is a good day for baby making. Today is a good day for bumping and grinding. Okay. Today is a good day for birthing or creating something or even just self expression. Like if you want to do art, if you want to paint, if you want to do some music today, if you want to dance and sing Moon Jupiter today, those are all good, healthy lunar practices. But you also, there's a lot of water energy in the air today and tomorrow, I think. Mercury, Mars are in Scorpio, Moon, Jupiter in Cancer. We have Saturn in Pisces. This is very water energy. There's a lot of water energy. Oh yeah, the moon goes into Leo tomorrow. Let me actually go and look at this. Let me do my time here. Hold on. Let me close this out. Oh, let me close that out. All right. Um, the moon goes into Leo tomorrow. But okay, the moon in Cancer, someone said for sowing seed. Yeah, it's good for sowing seed. Moon in Cancer today. The moon goes into Leo tomorrow. Let me actually put this in whole sign. Hold on. So I know what the hell I'm looking at. Um, what time does the moon go into Leo tomorrow? Hold on. I'm just doing something really quick. Da, 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 da. So the moon goes into Leo tomorrow at it's gonna be like around 6 in the morning, actually. I think it's like 6 in the morning. The moon goes into Leo. Yeah, it's gonna be like 4 a.m. on October 14th Pacific time. The moon goes into Leo. So, but the moon separating from Jupiter though, like today. Also, one of the things I wanted to say is that the moon in Cancer transit today, yesterday, Saturday evening, going to tomorrow morning is also our waning cardinal square from our full moon in Aries that we had. Yeah. So, there could be some challenging things that have showed up over the last 3 days because, we were in this full moon and Aries cycle and the moon is in Cancer, amplifying or even calling attention to our full moon and Aries energy. So we've been in this cycle with the full moon in Aries, right, where we have been asserting ourselves or we've been standing up for ourselves or we've been individuating in some type of way, whether it be individuating from a relationship or even needing more space or needing more sense of self or individuality within our relationship, right? Or even like pushing people away or even, you know, realizing that, we need to be assertive or we need to, speak up or we need to like, be okay with conflict in some type of way to make sure that we're getting our needs met or to make sure that we're holding others accountable. Like the full moon in Aries has been instigating things, has been, activating us, has been inviting conflict into where we've been avoiding it, has been reigniting our passions, has been, helping us remember that we're individuals, even though we operate in all these relationships and these friendships and things are all complex, right? The full moon in Aries has been reminding us, like, wait a minute, where do you show up for yourself in the space of relationships and partnerships? How do you assert yourself, right? How do you deal with conflict? Are you conflict avoidant? And where is being conflict avoidant or even being passive aggressive not working for you anymore? And the full moon in Aries is like, it's time to confront, what's like, it's time to confront those, those moments of conflict or that tension in the relationship or even what you're not happy with or what you're not getting. It's time to confront that. It's time to do something about it, right? What I love about Aries energy is in the sign of Aries is it's very action oriented. It doesn't sit there and like ask, okay, what are we gonna do? How are we? No, it's like let's just get it done. Let's just figure it out as we're getting through it, right? I really see that with myself with Jupiter and Aries. I'm like, come on, I have the North Node, Jupiter and Aries. Come on, let's keep it pushing. Let's keep going. Like we can't sit here and just wallow and just relish and no, like what's the next thing? And what can we do about it? That's the big thing that I love about Aries energy. It's like not how we feel about it or not what we think about it. It's what are we gonna do about it, right? And we're really feeling that energy of like we got to do something about what we're feeling and what we're doing, right? The moon in Cancer wrapping up a Cancer today and this kind of like the square this waning square. So the reason why it's waning is because the moon is going from full to new. So when the moon wanes, it's losing light. So every day when we look up into the sky, the moon is going to look darker and darker until we get onto our new moon in Libra, which is going to be a week from now, right? So it's kind of like, this full moon in Libra energy though, or this full moon in Aries energy, it's like, we're having to really, step into our power and step into our passions. And we're having to understand that conflict is a natural part of the lived experience. Conflict is good, you know? Being angry is okay, right? As long as you're responsible with it and you're not being like violent or you're not, being overly emotionally triggered and, and things like that. We need anger. We need passion. We need fight. We need grit. We need that in order to assert ourselves and accomplish what it is that we're going to, accomplish in our lifetime. There's going to be enemies that you deal with in your life. There's going to be people that try to hold you back. There's going to be people that try to fight you. There's going to be people that try to tell you no. There's going to be people that are kind of like these roadblocks or these like, they're going to test you and they're going to test your Mars sometimes. They're going to test you. They're going to be like, you know what? Are you a fucking warrior? Universe is going to send you someone in your life that's going to, that's going to try to walk all over you or challenge your power or take away your power or take away your authority, right? And when they show up, you're gonna need your Mars. You're gonna need to tap Mars into the ring and fight for you. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because so many of us we are so, especially like those of us that are like very empathic and very sensitive and very spiritual, we're very disconnected from our Mars. Is one of the things I've noticed. Like it's just like people are walking all over us. People are just taking advantage of us. We are, surrounded by these stronger personalities that just like boss us around and stuff like this. And you gotta cultivate a relationship with your Mars if you are going to succeed in life. You have to have a sense of assertiveness. You have to know what you want. Mars is what you desire. What do you want? What are you going after? Mars is very goal oriented. Actually, why is Mars goal oriented? Well, because Mars exalts in Capricorn, the sign of our ambitions and our future direction and our goals and what we're trying to accomplish. We need Mars to do that. We need a healthy relationship with Mars. And many of us were like, oh, you know, I want to be nice. I don't want to step on their toes. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to, I feel bad or guilty for being assertive or for, engaging in arguments and for fighting for myself. And no, you need Mars. You need Mars. You need Mars. I got to remind you of this, especially if you are an empathetic, spiritual, intuitive, soft person. You gotta develop an extra strong relationship with your Mars because you're gonna need it. Otherwise, what's gonna happen? You're gonna feel like you never accomplish your goals. You're gonna feel like there's all these, like anywhere you go, there's stronger, more bossy personalities that are gonna win one over on you. When you need to engage in competition, you're gonna have a hard time showing up. You know what I mean? When it's time to compete, when it's time to fight, when it's time to be number one, you're like, oh, it's okay. I don't need to win. I can be okay with number two. No, no, okay. This is me. Oh, listen, I have Jupiter in Aries, North Node in Aries, and I'm a Scorpio stellium. I'm very Martian. I'm very Mars. I do have a weak Mars. I have Mars in Libra, so I've been working on that. But no, we're number one. We're gonna win. You got to be okay for the competition. You got to be, listen, if the universe today is like, I need you to fight in the ring tomorrow, let's go. You better be ready, you know? And I think that's one of the things that's so important with this cycle, this full moon and Aries cycle that we've been learning, or even what's been showing to us is like, this full moon and Aries energy has been showing us, how you need to be passionate. You need to be assertive. You need to fight for yourself. You need to be an individual, and you have to have at least some kind of relationship with Mars and understand that you need Mars. We need Mars, right? Look at oh, the hard thing about it though. I think what's difficult about Mars is like we see so many lower vibrations of how Mars is expressed, right? Like Mars does have a lot to do with violence and guns and weapons and blood and murder and like really challenging difficult things. Mars has a lot to do with that. And also Mars and Scorpio right now, Mars is also connected to our sexuality and our desires. And many of us, we feel shame or guilt for our desires, for wanting the things that we want. And I'm speaking for myself as a gay man because, I grew up closeted and it's been a process of me learning to love and accept and not feel guilty or ashamed of my desires. My desire for other men, my desire to be in partnership, my desire, like it's been a journey for me of building a healthy relationship with my own inner Mars and the way that I relate to my sexuality for me. But it's different for everybody. Your relationship with Mars can be different for you, depending on where your Mars is at, right? And what Mars is doing in your chart. Mars can be about the way that you spend money for you, right? Or the way that you spend money. Mars can be about your relationship with food, depending on how it's placed in your chart. Mars can be about how your mom or your family always triggers you and always pisses you off. And so it can be about a lack of emotional regulation, especially if you have Mars in Cancer, right? Like, do you see very emotionally irresponsible people where they just default to anger or rage or emotional extremes, right? With Mars and Cancer, it's a Mars and Cancer thing. And so your Mars placement and what Mars is about for you is about learning how to regulate your emotions and learning how to assert yourself or emotionally express yourself without getting overly angry or abusive or just losing your shit, right? It's different for everybody, right? Our narrative and our story with Mars is different for everybody. But I think this full moon in Aries energy has been showing us no matter what relationship we have with our Mars and how Mars shows up in our life, we need to have a healthier one. We need to have a strong relationship with Mars. And so I want you guys to just reflect on that. I want you to think about that, especially because we're gonna have Mercury Mars coming into conjunction on Sunday. And that Mercury Mars conjunction is going to be very, very spicy. We're going to be feeling very assertive. We have Mars in a really strong position right now, right? And I think there's been an invitation for us to really reconnect to our desires, to our motives, to our passions, to our sexuality, to the things that drive us, the things that motivate us. Like there's been a lot of that energy with Mars in Scorpio and now Mercury in Scorpio, and we're also going to have the Sun in Scorpio, right? We're having a lot of Scorpio energy. The Sun's going to be going to Scorpio next week, and we're going to be entering Scorpio season. And during Scorpio season, we have this beautiful grand trine with Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio. They're going to have this beautiful water grand trine in the sky. So there's this invitation, for us to really honor our Mars and what Mars means to us. You see what I'm saying? But just keep in mind, though, Mars is a very destructive planet. And Mars also has a lot to do with cutting or separation or like violence or even like, snipping things, right? Scorpio is a sign of death and rebirth and transformation. And Scorpio has a lot to do with deep psychological transformation and change, deep emotional transformation and change, right? Scorpio for me, and also this is how I think of the eighth house, to me, it's the graveyard or the elephant graveyard. It's like where things go to die, right? And where things go to heal as well, right? Also, this is also why poison can be medicine in the right amount. Think about it. Scorpio is a sign of poison, right? But what do we get? We get like vaccines and stuff like that, right? Which is a small amount of the poison to develop immunity, to develop resistance, right? Sometimes what hurts us or what's toxic for us actually heals us and transforms us. It makes us stronger. This is what the sign of Scorpio teaches us. This is what Mars teaches us, ruling over the sign of Scorpio, right? But also, Scorpio has a lot to do with the emotional landscape that is traumatic. So Scorpio is all the emotions that we deal with that are difficult: betrayal, resentment, envy, jealousy, mistrust, extreme anger that becomes abusive, right? Vengeance. These are all Scorpio things. These are all emotional experience. These are all more of the negative human experiences of emotion, right? Where Pisces and Cancer is all the soft, lovey-dovey, good, sweet, delusional Pisces, fantastical Cancer, emotions that we experience, right? The nourishing ones, the comfortable ones, the warm feelings. That's Pisces and Cancer. We don't get that with Scorpio, though. Scorpio is the challenging, difficult, sad, even grief. Grief is a Scorpio thing. When things die, what do? We grieve death. We grieve the loss of things, right? And I think that's been coming up for a lot of people in general. There's been a lot of collective grief. This is something that I've been picking up a lot on when I do like collective readings. I actually pulled a card yesterday from the Wisdom of Oracle deck by what's her name? Something Barrett, Colleen, Wisdom of Oracle. Hold on, of Oracle. What's her name? Colette Baron Reed, that's her name. Yeah, yeah, Colette Baron Reed. She has this beautiful Oracle deck. It's one of my favorites. That's called the Wisdom of Oracle, and I pulled a regeneration card yesterday, and it's like the death card. Every deck, every Oracle deck has like its own death card. Yeah. And it really speaks to this kind of grief, this collective grief that we're going through, right? We're grieving old jobs. We're grieving our old sense of self. We're grieving, the old society, the way that things used to be. We're grieving the collapse of the, of capitalism. We're grieving, the way money is changing and the way work and career life is changing. And there's like so much that we're grieving. There's so much dying right now, and it's really traumatic and it's really sad. And we gotta hold space for that. We gotta allow all the complexity and the tense intensity of these emotions that we've been feeling and that we've experiencing. We gotta allow that to, we gotta move through that stuff, my love. We gotta allow that stuff to transform and change us. We gotta go through it because, you know, if we internalize it, it becomes illness. And that's what the sign of Scorpio in the eighth house teaches us. Whatever emotional bullshit, whatever emotional baggage that you avoid, that you compartmentalize, that don't want to deal with, that you just want to hold it, you just want to, not actually let it move through your eyes as tears, right? You don't want to feel through it. Well, guess what? It gets absorbed into the body and it's going to become health issues, right? The last place sickness shows up is in the body. The first place sickness shows up is in the mind, is in the emotions, is in the spiritual body, the intangible bodies, right? And the last place illness shows up is in the physical body, the most dense part of our physical experience, which is the material world, right? But there's also the spiritual, there's the emotional, there's the mental. So I think it's really important that, with Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio, we're entering Scorpio season, and we'll talk about this again. It's really important that we allow ourselves to fully grieve and mourn what is released, what is being released, what is dying, what we're moving away from, what we're letting go, And it's really sad. It is kind of sad. It's tough, and we got to honor that, okay? All right, let's get back to the astrology of the week. So then tomorrow, the moon goes into Leo on Tuesday. And the moon in Leo is going to hit an opposition with Pluto tomorrow morning. Okay, I'm looking at 6 a.m. I'm looking at 6 a.m. Pacific time, 6:10 a.m. October 14th. We have Moon, Pluto opposing each other. And this can be a moment. This is also the moon activating Pluto after Pluto just went direct. So Pluto is like direct, but he's not moving yet, right? He's going to be sitting at that 1 degree. So there could be some revelation or some epiphany that we have with Moon Pluto opposition tomorrow morning and starting tomorrow. There can be a revelation. There can be like a wow, I'm absolutely done with this. Wow, I'm going to cut this person off. Wow, this is no longer for me. Wow, I'm realizing that this is not who I want to be anymore. Moon in Leo. Leo's a sign of identity, right? Aquarius or Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto's a sign of transformation. So there could be something tomorrow morning where that move with that Moon Pluto opposition where we realize I can't do this anymore. I can't be like this anymore. I can't sustain this anymore. And there's something that needs to transform or change. And Pluto's now direct. So, there can be a moment of revelation or epiphany around something that Pluto showed us over the last 6 months while he was retrograde, now that he's moving forward. All right. Venus also is going to be at 0 degrees Libra, opposite Neptune and Aries at 0 degrees. What I like about Venus, though, in Libra this week, is she's making a grand trine with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. To me, this is good for relationships. There is a Venus-Neptune opposition, though, so there can be some confusion or some fogginess, or we can also, we can fall into pitfalls around escapism or avoidance around pleasures and our desires and stuff like that. There could be something elusive or something deceptive about relationships that are coming in or that form. When Venus goes into a new sign, when planets go into a new sign, that can literally symbolize the beginning or the start of something. So with Venus trine Pluto and Uranus, though, there's grand trine with Venus, Pluto, and Uranus. This is like relationships that are different, that are outside of the box, that are new, that are refreshing, like business opportunities or even, money making opportunities or partnerships that are progressive. that are part of this future timeline. I really want you guys to think about that. We need to be mindful of the Venus Neptune opposition, but also Venus is making this grand trine with Pluto and Uranus, which I really like. I think this is also why we're seeing, what's happening like in like Gaza and with Palestine and like Israel, like the peacekeeping and all that. I think that's also part of this Venus Pluto Uranus grand trine that's in the sky as well. But we just got to be very aware of what we need to kind of like, what we're moving away from, what we're moving towards. I love the Venus and Libra in general, but I think, I just want you guys to be mindful of this. The moon's going to sextile Venus tomorrow as well as she's making this beautiful grand trine. So we do have a sacred kite formation. For those of you that are going to be watching this back on YouTube, you can see that we have this beautiful grand trine, and then the moon is at the apex of the sacred kite between Venus and Uranus and Pluto. So, this is like this is like a period of divine alignment. I really do feel this, especially like this week with Venus at the early degrees of Libra. It's like divine alignment when it comes to partnerships, connections, ideas, social engagement. Like it feels like there's really good, positive, soulmate energy. And it doesn't have to be romantic. This could just be about partnerships or friendships or even meeting strangers that are going to have a big influence in our life or become a part of our narrative or part of our story. So yeah, so the moon in Leo, we start off with the moon Pluto opposition tomorrow on October 14th. And then the moon. Fly me to the moon. Let me sing among the stars. How does it go? Let me see what life is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, I'll be true. All right, that was fun. So let me go here. So the moon's gonna be in Leo Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. I'm looking to see if it's asked. Oh yeah, okay. Then Wednesday morning. So the moon's still in Leo Wednesday morning. So what happens? Oh, the moon's gonna try Neptune and sextile Venus. That's good, but that can also be a little delulu. Just watch out for, a lack of clarity initially with Venus opposite Neptune around certain things, okay? Also, another thing, oh, there's another download I got. Relationships or connections that come in right now, we may not be sure around the person's motives or intentions, or we may not be sure around what the purpose of that connection is. I feel like as Venus separates from Neptune going into like end of this week, going into next week, we're gonna have more clarity around what the purpose of certain connections are, especially new ones that are coming in. We may not be sure about what that connection is meant to be, okay? Or what is it, a friendship? Is it a lover? Is it a stranger? Is this, we may not be sure. So with that Venus Neptune opposition, just be aware of that. It doesn't have to be sure. I think it's okay to just go with the flow and just see how things unfold, okay? I think we need to be very mindful of our expectations right now. Curb your expectations. Let things unflow. Let things unfold, unfurl. I love that word, unfurl, gracefully. Okay, without expectation. Because Neptune could have you being delulu and have you thinking or feeling something that's not even there, or you're having like high hopes, or even not really, you're just, not being really clear around what that connection is supposed to be in some type of way. Okay. Um, but yeah, so Moon and Leo on Wednesday as well. I'm looking at 6 a.m. on Wednesday. And the moon goes to 14 degrees by 6 a.m. Wednesday. And the moon squares Mercury and the moon squares Mars, okay, on Wednesday. The other big aspect that I missed that I want to talk about is that's going to be perfecting, I do believe, this week. I think it's going to be on Friday, is the moon or sun in Libra opposite Chiron and Aries. That is probably going to be bringing up some wounds around our ego and our identity. Friday, October 17th. The sun is at 24 degrees, squaring Jupiter at 24 degrees, opposing Chiron at 24 degrees. This is going to bring up a lot of woundedness around ego, around leadership, around father, around children. But this is also Venus opposite or Sun opposite Chiron, an opportunity for us to do deep healing around our sense of self. Also around identity and how identity shows up in partnership. So, one of the big things, the pitfalls that we have that one of the big mistakes that we make as human beings is we tend to identify with partnerships or with others. And we can fall into a trap, okay, of building our identity falsely around a relationship. If you have built your identity around a relationship and it's false, and well, let me tell you, it's what is false about it? What is false about building an identity around a relationship? You are not the relationship. That's what's false about it. You cannot identify with the partnership because that takes you away from yourself. What happens a lot of times when we overly identify with the partnership or relationship or with an other, we abandon ourselves in the process, which is why the sun, the planet of the ego, is fallen extra weak in Libra, the sign of relationships. Because whenever we overly identify with others and with partnership and we try to build who we are around an identity, there's always a certain level of self abandonment that we are actively and willingly participating in, right? No longer are you self assured. No longer are you clear about who you are because you are giving up your identity and your sense of self to a partnership. You're giving it to someone else. You're here. You tell me who you are or who I am, right? Oh, the relationship is who we are, right? And there is always a certain level of self abandonment when it comes to identifying with the relationship. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the sun opposite Chiron and Aries can show you how you have abandoned your identity, how you have abandoned your power, how you have abandoned your goals, your dreams, how you abandoned yourself in some type of way. Okay, with the sun. The sun is also a career planet. The sun has a lot to do with our goals and our dreams and our ambitions and our soul's purpose. And being seen, being celebrated, right? Being in a leadership position, those are all sun things. You may have been compromising your power, your identity. You may have abandoned something, or you may be rejecting something about yourself, or even your passions, Chiron and Aries. You may be rejecting your passions, rejecting your desires, rejecting your individuality, suppressing these things because why? You've given it to a relationship. You're identifying with the partnership. You've given your power away to someone else. You've given away your goals and your dreams and your passions to someone. You're letting someone else dictate that for you, right? I want you guys to be very mindful of this, especially on Friday when the sun opposes Chiron exactly. This energy is going to be very emotional. It's going to involve family. It's going to involve the past, possibly in some type of way, or even deeply ingrained emotional patterns, familial patterns, things that run in the family, right? There may be a pattern of this in your own family. You may have a history of this because Jupiter in Cancer is also squaring the sun and squaring Chiron, and they're going to be in a T square. Okay. Jupiter is giving us grace. Jupiter is giving us a way out. Jupiter is like, you know what? Free yourself. Be optimistic. Trust in yourself. Have faith in yourself. You can deal with this. You can go through it, right? But Jupiter in Cancer is going to expand our emotional experience of this possible Sun Chiron opposition if it hits us. If you are a cardinal sign, if you are a Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, or a Libra, this can be specifically very significant for you, especially if you are a cardinal sign with anything around 24 degrees. If you have anything from 29 degrees to like 19 degrees of a cardinal sign, Aries, Libra, Capricorn, Cancer, I want you to pay attention and prepare for this. Take notice of this Sun opposite Chiron and this like Jupiter T squaring that Sun Chiron opposition. Okay, because this can drudge up some stuff in relationships and partnerships. And this can expose or reveal some kind of woundedness where you've abandoned your power, you've abandoned yourself. Because you're over identifying with others, or you're being or you're just caring about what other people think and say, right? You're being too diplomatic. You're being too compromising. You're not being self-assertive. You're not really, being honest with your passions and your desires. And, yeah. I want you guys to be aware of this. But the opportunity with this is tremendous healing. Venus is trine Pluto, right? So I'm really feeling like the sun in Libra opposite Chiron and Aries, while Venus is trining Pluto, and this T-square to Jupiter, the sun and Chiron are doing. It's kind of giving me, it's an opportunity to really be honest in our relationships with what we need, but also to allow the way that we engage in partnership to evolve in some type of way, so that we don't have to abandon ourselves, or we don't have to disconnect from ourselves, or we don't have to compromise or sacrifice some piece of ourselves in order to be in relationship, right? A lot of us, we want love. We are a love addicted, people. Many of us, we want love, right? But you do not need to bend yourself into the shape of a pretzel. You don't need to, you know, overly compromise or sacrifice yourself. You don't need to disconnect from your passion, disconnect from your individuality, or abandon yourself in any type of way in order to have partnership. All right. That's what this Sun and Chiron opposition is going to be about on Friday, October 17th. All right. I want you guys to think about this. I want you guys to be very aware of this. Okay. Because there's going to be some woundedness that does show up. I do feel like but I also think there's going to be a collective woundedness with like leaders in general, like with that Sun Chiron opposition. Like, some leaders may get exposed, some leadership may, fall from grace. There may be some, I don't know why, but I feel like there may be some um trauma or some tragedy or something also possibly with Chiron opposite the sun in Libra. We have Mercury Mars coming into a conjunction. There could be something like that with the sun Chiron. I don't know. The sun opposite Chiron is kind of giving me like a wounded leader, or a fall from grace for like an authority figure or something like that. But we'll see how that manifests. We'll see how that manifests. Okay. So that's going to be on Friday. At that time, the moon, well, let's actually go back because the moon's going to be go into Virgo on Thursday. From Thursday to Friday, the moon's going to be in Virgo. But let's finish up with the moon in Leo. So one of the things I wanted to talk about on Wednesday that we have is moon square Mercury Mars. That day can be a little contentious. It could be a little spicy that day, with the moon square Mercury Mars. Wednesday, specifically Wednesday morning, we can wake up just feeling kind of frustrated or irritated, or we can wake up, feeling inspired and motivated. It can be a good thing too. We can feel very inspired, very motivated. We can be like, oh, I want to go to the gym, right? Moon square Mars, moon square Mercury. There could be something that we've been holding on to, that we've been keeping to ourselves, that we want to reveal, or that we want to talk about, or that we want to address. Mercury and Mars are only 3 degrees away from each other on Wednesday the 15th. Mercury's at 12, Mars is at 15. So that conjunction is already building, and that moon is going to square Mercury and Mars. So we may feel like we want to initiate something. We may feel very inspired to address something. We may want to talk about something, right? With that Mercury Mars squaring the moon on Wednesday morning specifically. I'm looking at 6 a.m. Pacific time. I'm looking at the moon at 14, separating from a square at Mars, or with Mercury who's at 12, and then moving into a square at Mars who's at 15. Okay. I want you guys to be very mindful of this moon square Mercury Mars on Wednesday, especially if you're a fixed sign. Mars in Scorpio has been like initiating and triggering like the fixed signs, okay? And stuff like that. So I just want you guys to be mindful of that, okay? All right, let's keep going. Let's take a look and see what else we got going on here. Oh, what else do we got going on? What else? Moon trine Chiron, okay, moment of healing Wednesday night. The moon's going to be hitting this beautiful trine with Chiron in Aries. The sun is at 22 degrees though on Wednesday, so I don't know, and it's moving into this opposition with Chiron. So I think the moon. Oh, we also have moon sextile sun Wednesday night. So that could be about someone going on a date, or, there could be, I don't know. The moon sextile the sun between Libra and Leo is also like being social or doing something Wednesday night, or just it's feeling like a lighthearted, fun, fluffy energy. Also, we may deeply connect with someone on Wednesday, where we kind of address some kind of woundedness, or we have like a therapy session with someone or something while the moon's in Leo, sextiling the sun, and also trining Chiron. Okay. You may have a leader or a boss open up to you on Wednesday, or your dad might open up to you and tell you something that's very important. Leo's a sign of the father, right? Leo's a sign of partying. Leo's a sign of celebration. Leo's a sign of fun. Leo's a sign of creativity and self-expression. Leo's connected to our children, our own inner child, right? And so the moon in Leo tends to be like a vibe. Also, the moon in Leo is going to be our trine, the fifth house away from our full moon in Aries. So I do feel like the moon in Leo is going to be, it's going to feel good. It's going to be like a positive transit, but we just got to be mindful of Wednesday morning, that square that the moon in Leo is going to make to Mercury and Mars, okay? And then the moon goes into Virgo. So the moon in Virgo, as the sun goes into an opposition with Chiron, we're feeling a little stressed out or a little anxious as the moon goes into Virgo. We're also feeling very irritable or very inspired or very passionate because the moon in Virgo is responding to Mercury, who's in Scorpio and coming into a conjunction with Mars. So, the dispositor of the moon in Virgo is going to be Mercury in Scorpio. Scorpio and Virgo do have a good relationship, they sextile each other. So the moon does go into Virgo by Thursday around 12 p.m. Pacific time, October 16th, Thursday. The moon's going to be in Virgo at 0 degrees. It's going to square Uranus though, so we just want to be mindful of Thursday. There could be some unexpected, energy where our schedule changes. I don't know why, but I feel like Thursday going to Friday, people are finding out that they're not going to be working wherever they're working at anymore. This could also be about tripping or falling or hurting oneself. So just be very mindful on Thursday. Moon square Uranus. Moon square Uranus brings a moment of, rebellion, a moment of authenticity, a moment of shift, a moment of change. And we may feel this emotionally. We may feel very emotionally erratic Thursday as well. We may be feeling a little chaotic or just really anxious. Moon in Virgo square Uranus and Gemini is giving me like an anxious, paranoid energy. So I want you guys to be mindful of what's going on with your nervous system on Thursday, starting Thursday, because I feel like the moon in Virgo is going to be, I don't know, I'm kind of getting it's going to, like intuitively, I'm getting that it's going to be like a stressful kind of placement. Also, the moon in Virgo is our sixth house away from our full moon in Aries. So if you put Aries on the ascendant, we get Virgo in the sixth house. And so it's also kind of like our, I think it's our balsamic moon before our new moon. Yeah, it's like our balsamic moon. So moon in Virgo with the south node, especially going, the moon's going to be transiting the south node in Virgo on, let's see when they hit a conjunction. I think it's going to be like Friday night. Yeah, Friday night, like around 6 p.m. Pacific time. The moon in South Node. Yeah, I'm looking at is that 12? I'm looking at 6 p.m. Friday, October 17th. The moons conjoin the South Node exactly. Okay. Um Being disposited by Mercury, who's only 1 degree away from Mars. Mercury's at 16 and Mars is at 17. So I feel like there's a lot of karma that we're having to confront with the moon in Virgo. There's like a purging or a loss or a surrender or like a releasing of things with the moon and the south node coming into conjunction. And also like we realize like there's like a realization that many people are going to have around some kind of karmic pattern that they need to free themselves from, okay? There could be a temptation though to escape or avoid. We may also be feeling a little bit more emotionally isolated. We may feel very stressed out with that moon south node conjunction in Virgo. This can also be, a moment of spiritual revelation or a moment of like, you have like some kind of deep spiritual moment. Like you have like a significant dream or you see something or there's like a there's an animal that comes across your, I'm thinking Virgo animals. There's an animal that comes across your path that's like a spiritual message. So I want you guys to be very mindful of Friday because there could be some divine spiritual messages that the moon and the south node have to deliver around like forward direction and stuff like that. But I also think that this energy is very agitating and it's very stimulating because the moon in Virgo is being disposited by Mars and by Mars or by Mercury in Scorpio, who's sitting right next to Mars. There's also this sense of like karmic completion though, like, Venus just today before she goes into Libra at 29 degrees Virgo yesterday, today there's a certain kind of karmic revelation or karmic reckoning that we've been dealing with Venus and Virgo because we had our solar eclipse in Virgo. Um, that was what, like 3 weeks ago now, 3.5 weeks ago now. That was at 29 degrees Virgo, and we just had Venus at 29. So, there's definitely this energy of like karmic completion and kind of like lessons that we're learning associated with our nodes and or the nodes being in Pisces and Virgo. Okay. I want you guys to be mindful of Thursday, Friday, and Saturday though, with the moon in Virgo in the South Node, because there could be more kind of karmic unfolding with however the eclipses or the nodes hit you, wherever you have your Pisces Virgo house, or if you have anything, being hit by the nodes in mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, anything around the middle degrees of a mutable sign, or even if the eclipses, we had a middle degree eclipse that was a lunar eclipse in Pisces, and then we had our solar eclipse in Virgo like 3.5 weeks ago, right? So I would just want you guys to be mindful of that because the moon in the South Node could also be a continuation of some kind of karmic narrative or some kind of karmic unfolding in our own life, okay? Yeah, but this is definitely like an energy of like solitude, and we may feel like a little tired, a little exhausted. Also, watch out for getting sick. This is a balsamic moon. So this is about endings and closure and release, and this is about rest. The moon is about to go be new, right? We're about to have our new moon in Libra. I think it's gonna be at like 28 Libra. Let me see, hold on. We have a new moon. I'll tell you guys when the new moon is. The new moon's, I believe it's gonna be on Tuesday. On Monday. It's Monday. Yeah. It's gonna be like Monday night going into Tuesday morning, depending on where you're at. We have a new moon in Libra. I believe it's at 28 degrees of Libra. It might be at 20. Yeah, 28 degrees Libra. Yeah. It's gonna be like Tuesday morning Pacific time around 6:10 in the morning. That will be 9 a.m. Pacific time, October 21st, Eastern. Okay. We have a new moon in Libra. But this is the balsamic moon phase with the moon in Virgo, right? So it's more about kind of like releasing or ending or even like some kind of completion with whatever the full moon in Aries has been trying to teach us or trying to show us or trying to get us to move. So I just want you guys to be very mindful of the moon in Virgo transit Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The moon's also going to oppose Saturn. When is the moon oppose Saturn? Let me go back. Hold on. The moon's going to hit an opposition with Saturn. Go back. On Sunday looks good though. The moon's gonna be with Venus on Sunday. So the moon hits an opposition with Saturn on Saturday night, around 6 p.m., October 18th, Saturday night. We have moon opposite Saturn. So we could feel very heavy or very sad, or we can feel very drained or very exhausted, or we could or there can be like just a moment of like, oh, but that could also be about commitment, or that could be about a few things. That moon opposite Saturn, but it will kind of maybe feel a little heavy or even serious. There may be some like obligation that we have to honor. There's some kind of responsibility. Maybe somebody needs our help, somebody needs our support, or maybe we're just like kind of busy doing something. We have to, when was it? Saturn opposite Venus. Someone went to a funeral. When was that? I think it was the Saturn Venus opposition. Someone said that they went to a funeral. Well, Saturn has a lot to do with funerals. And so with the moon opposite Saturn, I wouldn't be surprised if, Saturday someone's going to a funeral. Or that energy's in the air, that kind of like the energy of endings or like losses or grief. I just be mindful of that energy on Saturday, okay? But then let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to bring up with the moon in Virgo. It is, even though the moon's going to be on the south node, it is going to sextile Mercury and Mars, though. So there is that kind of exciting, motivating. There's an energy with the moon sextile Mercury Mars on Friday. There's still an energy of like seduction and going out. And, Venus is going to be at 5 degrees Libra. She's going to be at 4 on Friday, and then she goes to 5 on Saturday. So these, Venus and Libra, I don't know. I feel like we're dating. We're going out on dates and we're meeting people and stuff. But we just want to be mindful of the moon south node. There's definitely people getting laid off though, the end of this week. Thursday, Friday, there are some people that are going to be finding out they're either getting jobs or like moving away from jobs or like letting go of a job or something. Okay. because that moon south node together. That's what's been happening with the south node of Virgo. There's been people like losing jobs. It's been the big theme, big theme. Okay. And then we have that Sun Chiron opposition that I talked about on Friday as well. So there, there could be some wounding that shows up in some type of way on this day. All right. Let me see if I missed anything though. I don't think so. All right. So then on Sunday, the moon goes into Libra. And I like that. I like the moon in Libra because the moon's going to hit Venus on Sunday. So Sunday is feeling really good. Sunday is feeling very social. The moon's gonna be with Venus, and it's gonna trine Pluto and trine Uranus. Another weekend of social activism or of protests and social activism. Like another weekend of people taking out to the streets and protesting, especially Sunday because the moon's going to hit Venus in Libra and trine Uranus and trine Pluto with this grand trine. Also, we can be surprised on Sunday. We can do something unexpected. We can be invited to an event that we weren't planning on going to, or we can hang out with someone and it can be, very fun and very exciting and very transformational. And, there's something about doing new things on Sunday or doing something that we haven't done before with Moon, Venus coming into conjunction and that Moon trine Uranus and trine Pluto. So I don't know, Sunday's feeling like a vibe. Sunday's feeling very, very positive. Um, yeah, I'm really liking Sunday. Sunday, I think if anyone's gonna go on a date, or if you're planning, you want to take someone out on a date, or you want to hang out with your significant other or do something, I would definitely advise doing that on Sunday, okay, with the moon and Venus together. Um, if plans fall through Friday, Saturday, if you just like can't get the energy, like can't get everybody together, or if you're just like anxious, or even you just got obligations or work that you got to do like there's something that you got to do Friday and Saturday, that's fine. Plan for Sunday. Okay. I think Sunday is a really good day for like dates and creativity and self-expression and social engagement and like doing something fun or even like like I said, a celebration. That can be a good thing to do on Sunday. Okay. And then we are let's see, the moon's gonna oppose Neptune. So, some people are waking up hungover from Saturday night to Sunday. Now, just be careful of partying a little too hard this weekend. With Venus or with the moon opposite Saturn on Saturday night, especially. Be careful with like over drinking and be mindful if you are someone that likes to engage in different types of substances. Just be mindful of what you're taking with Moon and Virgo opposite Saturn and Pisces on Saturday night, especially. Okay, with Moon opposite Saturn. Yes, and then yeah, then we have our full moon. We have our new moon in Libra coming up on Monday. So we enter next week with the moon in Libra, separating from a trine with uh separating from a trine with Pluto and Uranus and a conjunction with Venus. I'm really liking. So let's talk a little bit about the new moon, and then I'm gonna wrap up. I'm gonna do a new moon live. What I like about the new moon is that it's going to be squaring Jupiter. I like the new moon squaring Jupiter. I also like the ruler of the new moon, Venus, in her rulership. She's really strong. So I think that this is going to be a very positive new moon. I think this new moon is going to initiate or open a lot of new doors for people. I think this new moon is going to inspire people to kind of like go in a new direction. This new moon is happening right off of the back of a Mercury Mars conjunction. So Mercury Mars do hit that conjunction on Sunday. So there could be something very dramatic. There could be a moment of crisis, or there could be a moment of drama, or there could even be like the energy of like arguments on Sunday with Mercury Mars coming into conjunction. But then again, we have the Moon and Venus together in Libra. So it's like there's like two different energies that are very present on Sunday. There's Moon, Venus, and Libra, which is all lovey-dovey and all social and all, it feels good. It feels good. But then there's also Mercury Mars together in Scorpio. And so that's also like, desire and communication and wanting to express ourselves and wanting to assert ourselves and wanting to aggressively begin something or start something. So there's this energy of like peacekeeping and harmony and balance and like joy and like grace with Venus Moon. And then there's this energy of like fight and spice and desire and passion and like sexual energy with Mercury Mars on Sunday. So very kind of like contradictory energies, but they're both going to be present in the air. So I want you guys to be mindful of that on Sunday, okay? But yeah, this new moon is going to be squaring Jupiter in Cancer, and I like that because I feel like the new moon squaring Jupiter is opening up new doors for people, or it's pushing us forward in a new way. It may feel a little challenging or a little clunky, but Venus and her rulership, Mercury, Mars together, Mercury, Mars moving into a trine with Jupiter, this new moon, squaring Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter and Saturn in a trine with each other. I don't know. It feels like we're being pushed forward. We're moving forward. There's like new doors opening. We're initiating something new coming out of the new moon in Libra. We're planting new seeds in some type of way. Or we even have like a fresh new take on life. We feel very inspired. We're feeling a little bit more optimistic or something like this, right? We're excited for what's to come, I feel like, with the new moon. So, yeah, I'm gonna talk more about the new moon. I believe on the week, I might do a live on it might be on Sunday. We'll see. Sunday's gonna be the energy is really good on Sunday. So I might go live on Sunday actually, because the moon and Venus are gonna be together. So I might do a live next Sunday on the new moon in Libra, but we'll see. I don't know about doing it when the moon's in Virgo, going over the South Node on Friday. I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably gonna do it on Sunday though, a new moon in Libra live, okay? But yeah, my loves, that's our week ahead. That's it. That's everything. I wanted to make this an hour long today, but because I did like the horoscopes for the Venus in Libra, I wasn't able to make it an hour long. We're here at 2 hours now. So, but I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Mwah. Make sure you get some good rest. I need to get some good rest. I'm a little tired. I went to bed super late last night. I went to bed like at 3. I just could not sleep. I think it was Venus at 29 degrees and the moon's been in Cancer. And yeah, the moon's been in Cancer. So my eighth house, my eighth house is Libra, but having the sun there, having the sun there and just yeah, the full moon opposing my Mars, my eighth house Mars and Libra. I don't know. It's just I'm ready for Scorpio season. I'll tell you that. I'm excited for us to start Scorpio season. That's my ninth house, and I'm really looking forward to that energy. Whenever the eighth house gets activated for me, whenever the sun's going through the eighth house, I'm just like, get me out of this energy. I wish we could just skip for me, I'm like, let's just skip over Libra season. Let's just go ahead and skip that, jump right to Scorpio season. But yeah, my loves. Love you all so much. Everybody that bought a badge today, thank you for buying a badge. I really appreciate you guys. Like I was saying, I'm gonna do like another like reading sale, I guess you could call it, in November. So if you were trying to get a reading done with me, um, and you kind of want a good deal, wait until November, okay? I'm gonna do another sale in November. I think my next 2 weeks are kind of booked up mostly. So, yeah, I think my next 2 weeks is like booked up mostly, but yeah, I love you all so much. Thank you guys for being here. Has anybody been typing? I can't see what anybody's type. Are you guys typing? Are you guys saying anything? Can you guys hear me? Give me like little hearts if you can like hear me. I'm not seeing anything. I don't know what happened, but I'm not seeing anybody typing anything. So maybe Instagram messed up. That's probably what happened. I'm seeing the hearts though. I'm seeing the hearts. I'm seeing like people pressing the heart button. I'm just not seeing what anybody's typing, which is so weird. But all right, my loves. Mwah, have a beautiful, blessed day. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and post this on YouTube as well. I'll be uploading this to YouTube like right away as soon as it downloads on my computer. So if you guys want to go watch the playback on YouTube, you can. Okay. I love you guys. Take care. Have a good day. Bye. Alrighty, let's go ahead and stop this.